NRM. So we are ready. Our team is already on the ground, headed by the Director of Mobilization and Cadre Development, Honorable Rosemary Seninde Nasubuga. Even the Director for Information and Public Relations, Honorable Dombo, is also on the ground. What we have done, we have tried to minimize having many secretariat staff there. We want the real people in Omoro to do their work. And there is no doubt, I think we have the victory in our way. So our candidate will be nominated tomorrow.
All right. There's no doubt you have the victory for the NRM. Let's hear from another party in the race, the National Unity Platform. How are you preparing for that race in Omoro?
Well, good evening to our viewers. And I want to comfort the nation that as the National Unity Platform, of course with our mother establishment, the People Power movement, and now our mobilization wing, Kunga, we are ably participating in Omoro by-election as part of our mandate as a political party, and as well as part of our duty as citizens of this country to engage and exercise our rights in all electoral processes. And our candidate is Torit Simon, a very energetic, experienced, ready to serve, and committed, needless to say, vibrant Ugandan who was processed through the National Unity Platform party structures. Of course, various candidates expressed interest to be nominated on as flag bearers for National Unity Platform, and after a vigorous process, Torit emerged as the winner of the internal party process, meaning that for the National Unity Platform, we actually started our participation by exercising our internal party democracy. It wasn't by just conferring. We exercised, as we hear for NRM. I haven't heard of their process. Probably there's suffocation within the system itself. But we had internal party process. Adverts were run for those interested to carry the National Unity Platform flag for Omoro primaries. And at the end of the day, Torit emerged as our candidate, and all the other candidates have also joined the mobilization. We have our teams from Omoro, typical residents and citizens of Omoro. We have our Kunga mobilizing team, and I want to be also clear that even us as leaders, we shall be in Omoro. We want to express solidarity with the people of Omoro. They need representation in Parliament, and they need a people's-centered voice, which is typically Torit of the National Unity Platform. So a candidate will be nominating any time from now, because we are following the whole, because many times, with or without sabotage, we believe our candidate will be nominated any time from now, and on the ground, I think Torit of NUP is already in the early lead by all ongoing opinion polls. So we want to participate in this electoral process, and we shall abide by all electoral laws as provided for within our electoral framework. And I want to call upon the people of Omoro to exercise and to freely participate in this electoral process. Of course, I want to be quick to alert the common and notorious systems and institutions that always exceed their mandate, police and the army, that a nomination as required and as provided for within our laws is a starting point of a typical electoral process ahead of a campaign. You should allow the candidates to not only to be accompanied by their nominees, but also to inform the public that actually they have been nominated. So our candidate will be is not only popular, but we cannot even tell the thousands and thousands that will accompany him for nomination. But to answer your question, yes, we have a candidate. Yes, the National Unity Platform is participating, and yes, our candidate was processed by an internal electoral process to qualify as our flag bearer. And we want to also be on record that Omoro is not all about who succeeds who. It is all about the law. That the law requires filling any vacant position wherever it falls due through an electoral process that is open and fair to all players, and all political parties must be allowed to participate in this electoral process. And we are certain that we are coming up and we are coming out as winners.
Right.
And the people of Omoro will be the winners. And without the comfort and confidence, I would advise the other players, if I was in NRM, I would advise them not even to waste time.
All right, let's bring Charity into the conversation. Charity, if we could get your initial thoughts on the by-election in Omoro, considering that you are, you've done quite a bit of work around elections, you've observed both elections and by-elections, and you're a crusader of free, fair, and violent free elections.
Okay, so what is interesting about the election in Omoro is, I think, 2 or 3 perspectives I see here. One, a good electoral process starts with a clean voters register. And secondly, a good electoral process moves with sufficient information flow to the voters, but also to the candidates. Now, when I say a clean voters register, usually what happens is on the register there are people who have died. Like, for example, we know already Jacob Olanya is dead, and there must be many people within that constituency, Omoro, who could have died in the course from 2021 through to now. Then also people who might have wanted to shift where they will poll from. You choose, you tell Electoral Commission, we want to shift from this place and we're going to poll from here. Do the people know where they're going to poll from and how many people are on that register? That is very important information for both the NRM and NUP to know about.
There are other parties that are also participating.
Yeah, I know there is ANT, and I know that there is also FDC, but and I'm coming there. But let's first talk the register. Now, beyond the register, I have also said that information flow is very important to the candidates and to the people that are participating. Why is information flow important? Because we have seen over the by-elections and the national elections that we hold in Uganda that civic and voter education has been coming up as a key issue. And I'm going to paint for you a clear picture of how northern Uganda looked like during the time of 2021 elections and what the percentages were in terms of spoiled ballots, because spoiled ballots indicate for us that people do not know their electoral rights and they do not understand processes around ticking a ballot paper, choosing a candidate, and engaging with the process. Then we also hope, beyond hope, that this time the Electoral Commission will allow the public to engage with the process peacefully without barring them or keeping them away from the process, because sometimes they do bar people from engaging with the process. They did it for 2021 when they wouldn't allow observers to be on the scene. Journalists in Kayunga were beaten. That is all parts of barring the public from engaging, and it already taints a process as not being free and fair and free of violence. So we need to see engagement of the media more. We need to see engagement of the public more in the process. Then I want to talk about the political parties. Political parties are the vehicles that move political processes. And that for the election in Omoro to count, the political parties must be strong enough to show. DP already withdrew, and I can suspect the reasons why DP had to withdraw. One, that Norbert Mao was a very close friend to the late Olanya, and now it's Olanya's son that is standing. Two, that the opposition does not seem to want to field one candidate. You have seen FDC have a candidate, you've seen ANT have a candidate, and now you see NUP has a candidate. But the NRM is not going to give up on their constituency. Remember, the person who was there was a strong hold for NRM. And so NRM wants, under all conditions, to keep Omoro to themselves. And you've seen the team that they sent on ground. They sent it in advance. They already positioning themselves as a friend to the late Olanya's father. They were in his compound. He welcomed them. They greeted him. That is all politics. We haven't yet seen NUP moving there. We haven't seen them shake tables. We've seen them have a dinner in Kampala, but we haven't seen them move on ground and begin a positioning kind of movement, right, like we are saying with the NRM.
All right. You do mention, things happening on the ground, and some of our viewers may not be privy, probably did not watch them. We have some footage of what's been happening in Omoro. If we could play that, just to bring everybody up to speed.
We have come here from the NRM Secretariat as directors, one, to commiserate with the family of the late Right Honorable Jacob Olanya, the father, and the family members. It is now a month since we paid the last respects to our dear colleague. The second purpose is in conformity with the legal requirement to replace Right Honorable Jacob Olanya in Omoro constituency. Very soon we shall have a by-election, and Mr. Andrew Ojok Olanya has been unanimously, by consensus, selected by the National Resistance Movement as the flag bearer. Since he's a child from the home, we came to check on him, but also deliver the assurances of the national chairman, the party leadership, and the Secretary General that the party is going to do what it takes to ensure that Andrew Ojok wins to replace his father in Parliament. Finally, to give a reassurance to the people of Omoro and appeal to everybody that let us have a peaceful process, because Right Honorable Jacob Olanya was a very peaceful man. He loved God. His election, therefore, to get a replacement must exactly reflect that.
There you go, a few scenes from Omoro, and the Director of Communications at the NRM Secretariat saying, their candidate, Andrew Ojok, was chosen unanimously. And, Mr.
Excuse me to interfere a bit. The field coverage, it's as if it was a sponsored arrangement by NRM.
Why?
Because that is not what is happening exactly in Omoro. We have the NUP camp. I haven't seen it being captured here, because I don't want to mislead the public that actually it is NRM on the ground in Omoro. That is misleading, because I would have expected a balanced coverage. I don't know if the media is already shying away from this reality, because as we speak, the NUP candidate, Torit, has been on ground, has been moving place by place in preparation ahead of the nomination, an entire campaign program. We have thousands of Omoro voters gathering hand in hand with their preferred candidate to lead. So just at a level of media coverage, I think it was unfair that you played that segment and you call it the events on ground. I want to put on to be on record that the NUP camp has not been captured. You would have seen the thousands of Moro people and with their candidate, happy with their candidate and preparing readily. Secondly, I want to disassociate ourselves and our thinking with what has been aired here. Whereas we sympathize with the family of the late Oranya, but I want to be clear that we are now talking about an electoral process of a member of parliament, not a heir of a deceased person. Because a heir of a deceased person like Oranya, those are family issues. They can handle it by virtue of their culture, family, or the law.
All right.
When the discussion is to do with an electoral process, it is a constitutional provision, a provision in the Parliamentary Elections Act, among others. It is nothing to do with the succession. So I want to be on record. And even when he mentioned that the late was so much faithful among others, I want it to be on record that our candidate was actually rigged in many previous elections by the deceased. So we take reservation in terms of whether he was fair, whether he was a perfect individual. But in terms of the electoral process, I want to be on record that on the ground there is the National Unity Platform and People Power candidate to lead, and they have been moving from town to town, village to village in preparation for tomorrow's nomination and the ongoing entire electoral program, which we are very certain that the NRM is going to lose, and the People Power and NUP is actually going to lead.
Excellent.
This is just
yes,
an exercise of they're just fearing reality, and I want to really pray that CTV also brings some coverage.
Yes,
on the ground.
Allow me to say something about that. So on the second point that you make in relation to, an heir and what have you, that's actually the question I'm going to put to, Mr. Rogers Mulindwa. In relation to the coverage, the footage that we have at the moment is only in relation to that. But as CTV, we're definitely going to cover this process. We've sent a team there. The team went today. And so starting with nominations, we're going to cover everything as it happens on the ground. Mr. Rogers Mulindwa, how did you reach the candidate, Andrew Ojok? Because the director communication says this is a unanimous choice. How exactly was this choice made? Mr. Mulindwa? Mr. Rogers Mulindwa, can you hear me?
Yes. I'm getting you.
Okay. Well, you had the director communications, of your party saying that the candidate for the NRM, Mr. Andrew Ojok, was a unanimous candidate chosen by the party. How exactly did you reach this decision?
Well, first of all, I would request that as a moderator, you don't get intimidated by Honorable Nkunyinji.
No, that cannot happen.
Just proceed and manage your
Mr.
show.
Rogers Mulindwa, that cannot happen. He was just putting his position on record.
I have seen he puts you on the wall, and by the way, I didn't know. But good evening, Honorable Nkunyinji and my sister Charity. I didn't have a brief that you would be the ones on the show. Now, of course, as expected, Honorable Nkunyinji has made so many lies, but I would like to make it very clearly that we had our flag bearer, Mr. Joe Kolanya, going through the process. He was only lucky that when we had that meeting in State House, when the national chairperson wanted to have some brief on what exactly was transpiring in Omoro, so he called the religious leaders, he called the local council, 5 chairperson, he called the councillors, district councillors, he called opinion leaders. So among them, some of them actually expressed interest. They said, yeah, Your Excellency, we are also interested. He said, okay, if you are interested, no problem. But later on, as the discussion went on, they started dropping out one by one. Your Excellency, me, I'm opting out in favor of this. Your Excellency, I'm opting out. And the major issue here is the people of Omoro must choose either to vote for a new beginning, because they know we have already moved 1 year of the 5 years. But they can also choose to vote for continuity. There are quite a lot of things the late had done, and I think there is no better person that could really carry them forward other than Mr. Jock Andrew Olanya. And it's not about the hair, as Honorable Kunyinji is trying to put it. By the way, we are not the ones inventing this. This one started with the Democratic Party. Some time back, when Honorable Musisi died, I think it was somewhere in Ebusiro. And the son came in and took over from him. So if we are doing it now, we are just maybe picking lessons from what other people did before. But most important of all is that we have a strong candidate. If we had other people that wanted, we would have subjected them to an election, the internal elections. Honorable Kunyinji, of course, is aware that NUP has never conducted primaries. Even this time, they didn't have the primaries, but they had a meeting. I'm aware of what is going on that side. They had a meeting, and they agreed that this is the person we want. He should carry on. Just like he was also picked one time,
Mr. Rogers,
for the 2020.
Mr. Rogers Mulindo, we're actually going to ask him about their process as well.
NUP never conducted the primaries. But democratically, for us, we shall continue doing things the right way. And we want to assure Ugandans that our camp, the NRM camp, will automatically be disciplined, and we want to call upon our members to make sure they are disciplined wherever they will be.
All right. We're going to ask.
Of course, I know the defiance, the arrogance by some opposition members, but we shall make sure we live to the task, and we observe discipline. We shall respect other candidates. We shall respect other people from other camps. The world does not end with the moral election. Of course, for those who have been there, I'm sure my colleagues in the studio have not been tomorrow during these days, but there are all signs that people have taken a decision.
All right.
That
Mr. Rogers Mulindwa, we shall ask Honorable Nkunyinji on, the processes that they went through. But there were other candidates for, who wanted to come on the NRM ticket. And I'll just point out one in particular, Mr. Andrew Olal, who has competed before. And he is quoted as having said that, the NRM party should allow, for a fair ground for all interested party members to compete in primaries. And he does state that, this is a constituency. It is not a monarchy where, it passes down from father to son. Were these voices allowed, room within the party? Can you hear me? Mr. Rogers Mulindwa, can you hear me?
Yeah, somewhere, but you get cut and then...
All right, let me just ask the ending part of the question. There was one candidate, Mr. Andrew Olal, who is quoted as having said that the party leadership should allow for a free and fair contest within the party. Because in his words, Omoro is not, a monarchy where it's passed on from father to son. Were these voices allowed within your party processes?
Very much so. Whoever had interest was allowed to express interest. They spoke out their voices, they were heard, they were listened to, but they opted out themselves. There is nobody that was coerced, there is nobody that was forced out of the race. so it happened voluntarily. And by the way, that's another way of exercising democracy. It's another way of exercising democracy. Democracy does not necessarily mean you must go to the polls. You must cast the vote. Yeah, no. Some people can agree, just like these ones agreed, that, well, if Olanya had not died, should we have had an election? They said, okay. So if there is somebody they feel is mature enough, he meets the requirements, for him to be born to the late his family, or for him to have been a son, to be a son to the late, should not be a barrier for him not to contest. No, let them look at Andrew Olanya just like any other candidate. The only advantage he carries over the others is that for him, he must have known what exactly the father wanted to do. Because if you attended the burial, you could have seen there were churches in between. Actually, on the right side of the tent and on the left side of the tent where we were seated, there were churches, one for Anglican, one for the Catholics, and built by the late. And he had promised some chairs here, he had promised a note at the other side. So these are things people will be looking at and they say, okay, maybe for continuity, this is what we have to do. But I also remember that during burial, the father spoke out and outlined a number of things that he thought the government could do, the NRM government could work on. For instance, the 203 students that Olanya was paying fees for, they talked about the idea of starting an FM radio, which is Omoro FM. They had about six issues. Yes, as a government, a government can do that, but it's also important that when you have a person as their new MP that could easily make a follow-up on these issues, the better.
Mr. Rogers Mulindwa, these issues that you mentioned,
an opposition candidate,
Mr. Rogers Mulindwa,
automatically that would mean that person would be a distance away from the round table, perhaps where decisions would be taken. I'm aware of some MPs in the opposition that would love to see their electorate suffer so that they can hate the government. That one has also happened. That once you get into the government's hands and then you want to ask them for support, you want to do this, then they tend to like the government, which sometimes for them they think is a bad thing.
All right. You quoted the president and, and you've also used some words that the president is quoted to have used. The president said, the decent thing to do is to let one of the children of Olanya stand for him for the remaining 4 years, because if Olanya had not died, we would not have this election in Omoro until 2026. Whether he becomes useful or useless, we shall see. That seems to be the statement that encouraged people to opt out. Shouldn't your members try their hand, when a position falls vacant, other than being encouraged to leave a position?
I think it's very important to note that we have always had meetings with the national chairperson, meeting different people with the interest to contest. It's not final that when the national chairperson speaks, everybody would say, okay, let's go that way. I remind you, when we had the race for the speaker, and there was an effort to bring the late Olanya and the Right Honorable Kadaga to a table to agree. But remember that even after the Central Executive Committee had picked Olanya, Right Honorable Kadaga contested. So I want you to look at it from that angle. That it's not mandatory that the chairman or the president would come out and say, you move, opt out, can we have Olanya
We're talking about within the party.
So those things happen.
We're talking about a process within the party.
To do with the individual.
No,
that
within the party.
Taking a decision and he says, no, I think I can opt out of this race.
What
so
of within
they
the
voluntarily
party?
did that.
What of within the party? Because yes, a person can defy and then stand in the election itself, but within the party, having primaries so that you have a flag bearer chosen by the members.
But I think we are consuming a lot of...
But we are the only party that conducts primaries in this country, you know. Or we could be one of the few. Of course, NUP is not one of them. But at least I've seen FDC, I think. I've seen Democratic Party and the others, and maybe UPC. So nobody can doubt our capacity that we do the primaries. We always have the primaries, and the right person goes through, and we are supposed to follow that person and give that person the support as our flag bearer. No matter what he is, we have to support him.
Honorable Nkunyinja, I'm going to come to you for your reaction, but let's get Charities first. What does this mean for a free and fair process? But he does explain that no, they went through a process, and this is what the outcome of their process was.
From what Rogers is explaining there, the process doesn't seem to have been so open for very many people to participate. They seem to have been a bit of intimidation or cowing out, but we see NRM always having conversations with their chairperson and deciding on a candidate. We saw it for the speaker's election recently when Anita Among took over as the speaker. We saw it during the time of Kadaga and Leto Lanya, and now we are seeing the very conversation that happened with the son of Alanya. But I think what Ugandans are saying as a whole, the question of sons and daughters, because it hasn't started with Olanya. We saw it happening in Soroti. We saw it happening here in Buganda.
I think that was Katakwi.
Katakwi, yeah.
Oromite and his daughter Alengot.
Yes, Alengot. And we also saw it happening right here when Ken Ruchamjizi moved out and brought his daughter. His
daughter, yes.
Nampija.
Even what
Rogers has referenced to
Balikudembe in Busiro South, I believe.
Yes. So we have been seeing this trend growing, and Ugandans are now stopping and saying, wait a minute. Is it supposed to be a hereditary kind of process for us? Are our elections going to turn into monarchies? And I think it is a good question to ask. Does it mean only one home has good leadership? Does it mean elections are about...
Well, he explains there that, Andrew has the rare privilege of knowing what the plans of his father were better than other people, and can continue those plans.
Yes, the plans that Rogers talked about, I actually would fault them. A radio station, think about the people of Omoro. What is it that is pressing to the people of Omoro right now? Is it a radio station? Is it really just the education fund? And how many people were benefiting from that education fund? Supposing it is open to the whole of Gulu, not just Omoro, and all the unfortunate children of Gulu and even the unfortunate children of Uganda can access a fund to that extent, would it be better? Right now we are struggling with things of high food prices, lack of water. Omoro is one of those places where there is no water. I have been to Omoro myself, where there is no decent place to live in, dusty roads, defilement is highest in Omoro. I would have been very happy if I had that the first agenda is to get rid of defilement, girls' defilement in Omoro, because it means more girls will go to school, more homesteads will have more educated women looking after their homes, and the children will be better. So for me, in terms of nationalistic program, that would be better than a radio station. Radio station, yes, people will be able to talk and engage with the radio station. The education fund seems to be a localized thing. Can we open it up? Are those the real needs of the people of Omoro? But I like the politics that is shaping out. Because if there was no opposition and NRM had been in this one race alone, you can imagine how boring the process was going to be. There was nothing to look out for. So none of us would pay attention to what is going to happen in Omoro. But because the National Unity Platform, FDC, ANT have all fielded someone, and we are now going to see a bit of friction, everybody coming up to tell us their agenda, everybody coming, there's going to be a broth. So for the people who are the electorate, it's now time to sit down and decide. He said, do you want continuity? Do you want to start afresh? Are there things you saw which were not going right for you as the people of Omoro? And you're deciding now is the time for us to choose our destiny, and who of these is the best? The best may not be NUP, it could be FDC. The best could be ANT. Can these opposition political parties also look out for themselves and see, as the campaigns go on, who stands a better chance? Who can we support from our camp? We've seen in international spaces, people step down for others because they want their candidate to win, and also because they realize that their agenda is more important than individual agendas.
All right. Honorable Nkunyinji, you were, ready to respond to the things that Mr. Rogers Mulindwa did raise about the processes that they went through as a party. I think you even called it NRM rhetoric.
Yeah, we can't be here and listen to endless NRM rhetoric. Of course, I want to thank my colleague for that analytical approach to Omoro. I only beg to disagree that it's not all about the electoral process being exciting or being entertaining. We are in serious business. We are very serious and focused to engage in all electoral processes, including Omoro. And even if there were to be any other electoral process, like the coming women committee elections, we are going to participate and we are preparing. So our participation in Omoro is not all about to bring it to the limelight. No. It is to do with electoral rights of the people and the electorate, as provided for within the law. And as the National Unity Platform, we are a registered political party. Of course, we campaign more as people power because we believe we are people we share with ideas in terms of the future of this country beyond our party. And indeed, we have so many support. In Omoro, we have seen former members of different political parties, and including current members, like of UPC, among others, coming behind our candidate, Torit, for Omoro. At least this one we have on record. If you had covered well the events on the ground, especially in the NUP camp, you would have already appreciated that NUP is strong on the ground, not because of the name, but because of the ideas, the values we stand for, and our inclusive approach when it comes to electoral process and campaign. Nonetheless, I want to inform the public and Mulindwa that the National Unity Platform has a enabling legal framework where candidates are processed, and it is an open approach in compliance with the laws of this country. On the 20th April 2022, the chairperson of the Electoral Management Committee of National Unity Platform announced, put in the press a call for expression of interest for Omoro County by-election. And those intending to participate in that electoral process were given between 20th April 2022 to Friday 22nd April 2022 to deliver their expression of interest at our Guru office of the National Unity Platform or by mail. We had a multiple approach. So the National Unity Platform processed its candidate via a legitimate electoral process. And actually we had several candidates, not even one. There was another.
One of those candidates is Mr. Sekondo Okot, who actually carried your flag in the just concluded elections. People expected that he would be the candidate that you would be fronting.
This shows this shows how we follow our electoral process vigorously. It's not all about inheritance. It's not all about that I was in this position or I competed in this particular position. We actually did a fresh exercise. That's why even the previous candidate never imagined the successful candidate in terms of our party electoral process. And for example, Torit has just joined the National Unity Platform, but he successfully complied and passed through the vigorous electoral process. And at the end of the day, all other candidates joined up and they're going to campaign besides the successful National Unity Platform candidate. So in terms of the allegation made by Mulindwa that he has not heard of NUP and this electoral process, where else would you know it apart from hearing and listening to us? The problem, he doesn't listen, he doesn't research, he only narrates the history he has from time immemorial, but we are now referring to electoral process of today. The National Unity Platform is not as old as all those parties you are mentioning. We actually emerged around 2020, 2021. towards election. So ours is a new party, and we have participated first of all in the previous general election, and now in this by-election. Previously, our leaders participated in other by-election as people power, not as the National Unity Platform. But now we are as the National Unity Platform. We started in the last general election, and now this emerges as a by-election where we are going to actually participate. And of course, we have also participated in other by-election, like the one for the one for Nakwede, among others. Now, going forward, I also want to disassociate ourselves, and I want to be on record that when Morinwa alleges that by Omoro or any part of this Uganda voting an opposition candidate, they would have voted against the service, that is unacceptable. I want to remind the Morinwa that Uganda is a democracy with a constitutional order, and governance has systems of governance. We have the legislature, the executive, the judiciary as arms of governance, and legislature as parliament has a demarcation in terms of electoral areas represented by independent individual members elected from particular electoral areas as members of parliament with equal rights to represent the values, views, and aspirations of the people, especially from those localities, but also at a national level. It's not all about saying that you must be from this particular party. In our electoral democracy, you can be from a political party, you can even be an independent. Right. So it does not resonate with governance and service delivery anywhere that you must particularly vote a candidate from this particular area. And actually, Omoro has suffered a lot by an NRM member of parliament, moreover at the level of a deputy speaker. So we believe the National Unity Platform and a candidate of the National Unity Platform will ably represent and air out the views of Omoro people, and jointly as opposition, we also join hands. Because when it comes to legislature, it's not all about saying that you must be coming from this particular party for you to be heard. All voices must be heard, and Parliament operates as a unifying legislature, not for a particular side or political inclination. Right. And so the argument that when you vote a candidate of opposition or NUP that you won't get service, that's untrue.
Right. Because it's almost time for us to go for a break. We will come to that issue of service delivery vis-a-vis the candidate that is chosen. But just before we do that, I'd like to get your very quick comment on this. Why did the NUP decide to unveil its candidate here in Kampala for a contest that's going to happen in Omoro? We did cover what happened here but on the ground, it is the NRM that unveiled their candidate in Omoro. Why did you do it here in Kampala?
I think you are short of information, and maybe, I don't know how you send your media team on ground. We have a series of activities in Omoro. No. I'm talking about unveiling your candidate. When I was telling you about our electoral program, even applications were done in the northern part of Uganda. They were done through our group office. We even have a party office in Omoro. We unveiled a party office. Yes, and going back to what there's been several party activities. I hear you. But going back to the question I have asked, in relation to unveiling the candidate. Let's talk in terms of electoral process. Electoral process begins at what stage? We had internal party processes. Our headquarters is at the party is in Kamocha. We have regional offices in Gulu, and we also have a party office in Omoro. We have a series of activities at all of these places. Maybe you chose selectively to cover one place. What do we do with you? But in terms of the people of Omoro, we have a physical presence on the ground and office, and there have been a series of party activities, including strengthening our party structures on the ground together with our candidate. Of course, we had some activities at our Guru office and some activities at our party headquarters. There's no lacuna, there's no taboo in our candidate also coming and associating with other party leaders, at the headquarters. We even had a dinner with him, with our party president in Magere, in Channel East. And so we have a series of programs interacting with our candidate, but on the ground, we have a strong and robust team on the ground. We have a series of activities, but in terms of the language of the electoral process, they begin with the nomination. This was internal party processes. Nomination is going to be done on, of course, on ground. The campaign will be done on ground.
All
so.
Right. We need to
talk about the typical electoral process.
All right.
The rest of what we do, how we engage, where we meet. For example, you have seen Murindo was saying they met in the State House, they met here, they met here. What did you take of that? So the issue of where a candidate interacts with other leaders is it doesn't resonate with the electoral process.
When it comes
to the electoral process, we are physical on the ground, and I wonder why CTV couldn't capture most of these activities, because we are typical on the ground in Omoro and we are winning.
All right, I have explained that to you. Hopefully, you will hear me out. We need to take a break at this point. Yes, the nomination starts tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, and we will cover that. So please look out for our news bulletins where that will be covered. We go for a break at this point. After the break, we continue the debate. Stay tuned.
Islamic University mu Uganda Females Campus Kaboja etegese oludduka lwe batumye Run for Girl Education olugendo kubera okusane nga 22 Mei 2022 okutandika ku ssaawa emu paka ssaawa mukaaga ez'omutuntu abaddusi bakudduka kilomita zimwenda zokka. Sente zinaava mu ludduka luno zijja kuyamba abawala 352 abatasobodde kumalako campus, era nga kiti egula emitwalo 5 ya platinum, mitwalo 3 gold, silver mitwalo 2, era nga zitundibwa King Fahad Plaza Grand Floor, e Kampala Campus, Mbale Campus ne Arua Campus. Okumanya ebisingawo kuba essimu 0704 741 369 oba 0776 360 170. Oludduka lwa Run for Girl Education luteereddwamu ssente Polo Freight Forwarders, Wachiso Giants, Hillwater, Fati Flair Makeup ne Carib Support Uganda.
Wamunne CTV. Don't blink. CTV is now on StarTimes. You can now catch all your favorite programs, our daily comprehensive news bulletins, and so much more on StarTimes channel number 248. Stay tuned for a world of endless possibilities. CTV. Don't blink. Love sports? We do too. We got you covered. The Sports Dish, your daily lunchtime sports show that serves the intrigue, breaks down the act, and gives you an in-depth analysis of the odds. Who's going up? Who's going down? Catch all the thrilling action right here on the Sports Dish with Clive Chazé. Now showing on CTV. Don't blink. As we embark on a journey to realize our full potential, we all need expanded minds and limitless possibilities. We need to be accurately informed. CTV is your growth partner. With reliable, in-depth news, we tell the story from all perspectives. We bring you the story in real time. Catch our comprehensive daily bulletins in Juba Egorovie at 7 p.m. and PM edition at 9 p.m. CTV. Don't blink.
Welcome back from the break. Thank you for staying with us here on the big debate. I'm your host, Iguma Gabriel. Today, we're talking about, our election processes, particularly the by-election in Omoro County, where the fallen speaker, Jacob Olanya, will be, they'll be finding a person to replace him as the constituency member of Parliament. We're having this discussion with three guests. The Honorable Mwanda Nkunyinji, he is Chadondo East Member of Parliament. I have with me here Charity Ahimbisiwe, the Executive Director, Electoral Law Institute, and joining us via a live link is Mr. Rogers Mulindwa, the spokesperson of the NRM party. Well, before we went for the break, one of the issues that was raised was particularly in relation to some of the things that have been said on the ground. It's not the first time that some of these comments are coming up, and we'd like to hear from you, Mr. Rogers Mulindwa. Yes, the Honorable Seninde, your party Secretary General have been quoted as saying if the people of Omoro would like services, they should vote a person from NRM. Is that how the NRM party that's running the government of Uganda, is that how you determine how people qualify for services?
I don't want to say that that's how people qualify for services. But even if I get to that, I would like to make a comment on what Charity said about the radio, the roads, the education. Well, if we didn't have the media, for instance, we wouldn't have had an opportunity to sit like we are here, and then we start discussing. This is how important media is, and that's why you say you could need the radio faster. For mobilization purposes, you could need the radio to communicate programs, to
But does a person have to be a member of Parliament issues in order to bring a radio station? You know, if this is one of the qualifications for Andrew Ojok to be member of Parliament, can't he do this without being an MP?
Well, he could, maybe. He can still do it when he's not an MP, but if there is an opportunity for him to be an MP, why not? He should be there. Actually, I have always heard the NOP people advocating for the younger people. When you look at all the candidates we have, I think NRM has the youngest candidate. So it's, if it's about the younger people, then we have brought the younger person. And then surprisingly, some people are trying to resist him. But of course, there is no big problem. It's very clear. To me, I think according to the analysis on the ground, we shall have it. So the issue of the radio is just one of the many things that Right Honorable Anya had promised the people. And it's within our mandate as a party to remind the government that these things are possible, can work on them. The roads have been worked on. There are some schools, yes, there are many other issues to be attended to. Those ones can be attended to.
The issue of service delivery and tying service delivery to the way people vote.
NOP has never had primaries. That is the factual. The way Honorable Kunyinji was saying, I don't think I want to believe that. But of course, Honorable Mwada knows that once we are done with the general elections, we all serve one manifesto. Whether you are NUP, whether you are FDC, whether you are DP, whether you are UPC, I want to remind the MP in the studio that there is one manifesto you have to serve. The manifesto that people voted, the people of Uganda, gave us the mandate as NRM. Yes, there is parliament, there is executive, there is judicial. Yes, that's okay. But when it comes to you as a politician, there is one manifesto that you have to implement. That's the manifesto of NRM. That's what Ugandans decided. So when we come to an area and we say we promise to take water levels, or rather clean water for our people from this point to this point, then me and you and all the others, we must work together into that direction. We have to be in that one direction. If we are talking about education, it has to be that one direction. So that's why even if you are elsewhere and you are not in NRM, then it's more or less mandatory that you have to be speaking our language. And we say, because at the end of the 5 years, we shall get back at the population. And they will not be asking us about NUP. They will not be asking us about FDC. They will be asking us about, this is what you promised to do. So in a constituency, like now where Honorable Mwada comes from, he has to work with us as a government That's what he has to do. He has to work with the government. And the government in power, well, government of Uganda, but the people of Uganda voted the National Resistance Movement. So the NRM government in power is the one to deliver the services. If we don't deliver, then after 5 years, we shall be again put to task to explain why we didn't. Why we didn't. And that's why I hinted on that and I said some opposition members of parliament would be happier not helping their people out of poverty, not helping our people to access clean water or to get power in their homes, simply because they know once these services get closer to the people, then the people will appreciate the government, like the government, and turn away from the opposition. Because the opposition survives on those so many lies. But I want anyway to thank Mzee Lokoli for that good reception he gave our people when they went to his home. We had a very lengthy discussion, which may not be for the public consumption, but we shall be working together in these elections to ensure that we deliver success. We are known for 4 things as a party. We are very patriotic. We are Pan-Africanists. We look at socio-economic development or socio-economic transformation and democracy. And that's what we are known for as NRM. And we shall always work within that line to make sure we deliver success. And for our people, somebody has just sent me a message on phone here. For those who are watching us on CTV, please, 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 as I said at the beginning, we need to live by example. Let's observe discipline and we allow other organs that are responsible for ensuring that there is peace for all of us.
All right.
Let them do their work. But
All right.
as party members of NRM, we must live by example.
All right. It's good that you've brought in the issue of living, being disciplined as we go through this process, because many of the by-elections in the recent past have been marred with violence, and there's already fears of violence. Earlier on, the Honorable Nkunyinji, even called upon the forces to be aware of their mandate and live within their mandate. Charity, I'd like to begin with you on this, because election violence has been, something real with us. In relation to this by-election, what is the temperature in relation to, election violence?
I actually am happy that you've given me the chance to come in immediately Rogers ended, because he was saying, as the NRM, we brought in democracy. And the way he talks about it, you would want to believe if you've not been in this country. In 2021, which is just a few months from right now, because 2021, we are about how many months into 2022?
We're just 5 months into 2022.
We are 5 months into 2022. November 2021, we had 54 people dead according to the Uganda police report. But we had a Human Rights Watch report, which put the death number at 100 for young people. And this election, like Mwada is telling you right now, is just starting. After nomination, once the campaigns kick off on 16th, that's when you will see real push and shove. And once the push and shove comes in, I want to see how differently the military and the police will behave this time. Actually, elections are not a military affair. I said it in 2021 throughout. I shouted myself hoarse that elections are not an affair of the military, and the military should stay off the election in Omoro if you want a peaceful election in Uganda. What we saw in Kayunga, the military was fully everywhere, in charge of everything, including pushing away the journalists. I hope this changes in Omoro. I'm looking forward to just watching it from a distance. I'm not excited about being on the ground and seeing people pushed and shoved. Until Uganda grows as a democracy, I think we are regressing, and it's not good for people to sit and say, oh, this is a democracy. No, there is a lot of work that needs to be done on this democracy. We've said these things, and I want to paint the following picture. That we had 381,386 invalid ballots in 2021. These statistics I quote, they are from the Electoral Commission. And by region, Acholi had 24,331 invalid votes. I want to still stick with Northern. Lango had 28,809. Of course, the picture in Eastern Uganda is worse. We have 59,000 from Eastern Uganda as spoiled ballots. We have 42,000 spoiled ballots from invalid, not even spoiled, invalid. Invalid is different from spoiled. Spoiled is done by the electoral official who pulls out recklessly and spoils it. But invalid means you received the ballot, but you used it wrongly because you don't know how to deal with it. So the invalid votes were worst in Eastern, but we also saw a big number from West Nile, from Acholi. Acholi, I have just quoted for you, 24,331 of the 381,000 spoiled ballot papers, invalid ballot papers in the 2021 election. What that points to is the lack of civic voter education for all stakeholders. So now the Electoral Commission needs to quickly sit down with the police and the army. They need to tell the army, keep away from this process. For us in Omoro this time, we are dealing with the police.
That has happened before. Does the army heed
to that kind of advice? If Mulindwa, if we're going to go by anything Rogers Mulindwa is talking about there, about a democracy, because a true democracy is one that lives by the standards that are in the statutes. And the statute has stated that the police is in charge of internal processes, while the army will govern the territorial boundaries of Uganda. If there is danger, if they have a tuju, rebels, people you're going to kill, shoot at, do that. But an election is not a do or die.
There's usually this thing called intelligence. We have intelligence that the following things, people are planning the following things, therefore we're asking the army to come in and support.
That is if the police does ask. The law is clear that the police has to ask for the military to come in. If the police never asks the military to come in, the military has no business coming into an election. And until we see that day when the police writes and says, hey, it is now out of our hands, because we need your help.
Because I'd like to bring in the other panelists, could you comment very briefly on the role that the parties play in violence escalating in the election?
Now, one of the things
because you remember the Arua incident, there was a claim of, pelting,
stones at the president's
convoy, and usually, they point to things like provocation and not playing by the rules and the violence being orchestrated. Usually the reports are the violence is orchestrated by the opposition.
But one thing you have to remember is that elections are tense. There are processes of engagement that are tense. It is true that both sides, the opposition and the ruling party, will always counter-accuse each other. But that is how elections are. They run on three tides: opinion, freedom of assembly, and freedom of expression. Now, how people express themselves is different. What needs to be seen is an effort for the ground to be as leveled as much as possible, such that people are not producing videos that are countering stories that are being told by either side. One time in Kayunga, the picture of the girl, Nakwede, they took a picture of her clearly hit at her left-hand side. The next, the Twitter picture that came out on WhatsApp, the bandage has shifted to the right-hand side. And so the story that was coming in from the ruling party was they are pretending there was no wound, until the girl had to come out and show that actually there was a wound on her. Now, we are going to see a lot of that happening right now. There's going to be a playback of such information of lies, truth, lie, truth. What needs to be done by the stakeholders who ensure fairness, Electoral Commission, the police, the media, is to have a balanced picture come out of Omoro. So can the police, can the military keep their hands off the media and let them get into the ground and feed the public with the information?
All right. Honorable Nkunyinji, are you anticipating violence? How are you ensuring that this process is free, fair, and violence-free?
Thank you. But you know, if I forget, I wanted to respond to Mulindwa. You know, Mulindwa is fond of lies.
He also says you're telling lies.
Yeah, he's fond of lies. In terms of people of Omoro, in terms of service delivery, it is within our constitutional mandate that every region of this country and every citizen of this country must access, for example, clean water, good roads. It's within the national objectives of our constitution. I don't know if Mulindwa has ever had time to read the constitution. He only sleep and dream speaking what favors and what would interest or scare people. But I want to speak what is right.
I think Honorable Nkunyinji, no.
It is
I
within
don't sleep and dream.
Because in the national objectives, as enshrined in our constitutional order, extending clean water, roads, among others, is within the national objectives as provided for within our national objectives and our constitution. 2, when it comes to budgeting and appropriation, all these processes end up and pass through Parliament, and appropriation is specifically done by Parliament in terms of the services and how you must offer services. This business of saying that Omoro and this region require a radio or what, as they read them, they are reading them from a will. We are not implementing a will of Orania. Orania had a term of over 10 years. I think had a term of so many years in Parliament.
5 before 5 he was out of Parliament and returned from 2011.
Yes. So Orania had time to serve. In all that time, as we speak now, the roads in Omoro are impassable. There is no access to clean water. Schools are in bad shape. The hospitals are in bad shape. There can't be a miracle in these many years of this tenure. That's why people of Omoro need change and need better service delivery in the person of Simon Torit of the National Unity Platform. And we are not going to bargain and negotiate with anyone regarding our rights. We are in an electoral process as provided for within the law. So we don't want to go into the discussion that we need favors, please assist us. We must only pass a warning and a caution that, first of all, under our constitutional order, no one is above the law. The army has its role away from the electoral process. The police, including, for example, safeguarding a polling station, it should be by a constable and unarmed, according to the constitution, to the electoral laws. Now, what we have been seeing of these armed officers, kidnaps and threats, we want to warn whoever is planning that for us as the National Unity Platform, as people of Uganda, we want a free and fair electoral process, and the laws of Uganda are very elaborate how a free and fair process must be run.
All right.
We are coming to a nomination.
Your party has been accused of provocation, of starting violence.
That is a hide and seek game and character assassination. Everyone knows that we have been persecuted. Many arrested, many kidnapped, and there are no police reports coming out, not even fair trial or fair process being assembled. But we are not yet about to relent on our efforts for democracy. We can't relent on our efforts for the rule of law. Now, this coming electoral process, we are entering an electoral process, of course are aware of the challenges we had in the past to do with the security forces, the military, among others. But who else is available to assert our rights apart from us? That's why we are saying we are coming with the solid commitment. And we are going to join the people of Omoro, and the people of Omoro are already determined. They know they have suffered enough and they have passed through this suffering. And I want to be on record that even Orania had just rigged the election. Torit has been a solid candidate on the ground in Omoro. He has struggled together with the people of Omoro, so the candidate we are presenting in the electoral petition involving Simon Torit, I think it was the group of Orania and this Mulindwa group of NRM. They kidnapped Torit and he could not table evidence in court. This is on the record. He was kidnapped and informed the court. The day he had to present his petition and his evidence before court, he was kidnapped. And only this when when the case had been thrown out. So these are facts, and the people of Omoro are aware. When Mulindwa comes here and narrate and insinuate these people have suffered, when you go to Omoro now, when you go to Omoro now, the roads are impassable. We can't have a miracle in the remaining 4 years or 3 years. The roads are impassable. We need the voice. We need the voice of the people. So in terms of the electoral process, whether it should be free and fair, It is not a matter of debate or dialogue. It is a requirement of the law. And that's why we are going in a solid form. We must assert, and the people are going to assert their rights. The electoral process must be free and fair. We want to warn the Electoral Commission. It should be a free and fair election, and it should operate independent. What we have seen in previous elections is the Electoral Commission itself has avoided being independent, contrary to the law, and many times out of intimidation. So we want to stand in...
the processes of elections are tense, and you know there are so many interests. It's important for those participating in the election to be committed to making sure that the process is violence-free.
No, actually,
is that something
violence is committed by the police, by the military, by NRM, and many times the non-independence of the Electoral Commission. I have not seen peaceful people like members and supporters of the National Unity Platform. They are very free supporters of people power, because they know. Why we go into an electoral process? Because we want to avoid violent and other illegal means. We enter into an electoral process because we want to be peaceful. We want to exercise our rights in accordance with the law. And that's why we are entering into this electoral process. It's one to signal that we want it to be free and fair. We want to be quick to pass a caution to the military and police, among others, including the NRM. This business of intimidating supporters, especially of NUP, making illegal arrest and detention, scaring away voters from polling stations, now requires all our involvement as stakeholders in this country. Remember, the National Unity Platform is a political party with a right to participate in the electoral process within this country. And much as we have our ground forces in Omoro and our solid team in Omoro, we are also joining as members of NUP to solidify our campaign team on ground. But we promise to act in accordance with the law. However, we shall be quick to resist any attempt to disallow or dismantle a free and fair election. And the Electoral Commission this time is at test. We are very alert, because the Electoral Commission has been an accomplice of NRM. So we want to have a clear electoral process. When you hear this rhetoric by the likes of Murindwa and the entire NRM, they think it should be theirs. Whereas it's an electoral process where it is the people of Omoro to actually vote and decide the fate of who should be their new member of parliament. And I want to assure the people of Omoro that the person they are going to vote will have the legal mandate to represent their views and to ensure that all their concerns are worked on and represented. The budgets of this country and the funds and national resources of this country are not only expended in terms of NRM. No, they must be expended in accordance with the law and all the people of this country. Yes. So this analysis and argument that they must vote in NRM because of that is unfounded. It is a lie. The people of Omoro must know they have their right, and we are coming for this election.
Let's allow Rogers Mulindwa to.
That in terms of concession, the National Unity Platform should also demonstrate, like NRM has, to say, let our people remain calm and engage with.
I try to get Honorable to commit.
I think that they will need to do that.
This is a campaign we are calling upon our people to mobilize. And mobilize vigorous. Of course, we are peaceful. They should mobilize.
But in 2021, Gabriel, I want to tell you, the tires that were burnt in Kampala, some of them were burnt by National Unity Platform supporters.
Where is the evidence? Where is the evidence?
They were wearing red. They were wearing red, and I am not talking in favor of Mulindwa. I'm talking in favor of Uganda as a country.
Where are you getting those facts? Where are you getting those facts?
I'm getting them from observation.
If we may,
we observe.
That's a lie.
We observe.
Anyone you find on the street, just label them NUP.
No, if we may.
That's unfair.
No, there must be concession.
When you find a group of this
Honorable, let's listen to each other.
Yes.
No.
The one thing, just
you can't arrange on record that these people, because they're on the street and they're demonstrating, so they are banning a tire, so they belong to this party. No, that's a lie.
Honorable, but it's also
she's a lawyer.
Honorable, but it's also unfortunate that we failed to get your commitment on being violent free in the election.
I'm telling you, in all previous elections, violence has been occasioned by NRM, it has been occasioned by police and the military. Our people as NUP are peaceful, and they will continue to be peaceful. For us, we are very peaceful, but we continue to be objective and assertive.
All right, let's hear from Rogers Mulindwa.
Assertive,
all right.
and being violent.
Mr. Rogers Mulindwa, you have had a number of points that have been made here, your response, and this is really on, the issue that we have seen unfortunate violence in elections, and it has even proved to be worse in by-elections. What is being done by the ruling party to ensure, and the party in charge of government to make sure that this election does not go, that direction?
There will be quite a number of things that we need to do, and we need to do them jointly. It's not all about NRM, but as people of Uganda, if we are to have peaceful elections, there are many things to do. But if I get to what we should do, of course, Charity raised something very, very interesting about the invalid votes. And when you look at the records where NRM performed better than NUP, there were more invalid votes. And we raised this in one of our meetings, that there was a kind of a mobilization by the NUP people, that you go and shout when somebody puts up the ballot paper, "Kafu, Kafu!" And some returning officers, I think, got intimidated. And if we were to have an opportunity to look at those ballot papers again, you would see that a big number of them were not invalid, as they are termed, and they were our vote. They were in favor of NRM. But that's now history. Next time we shall find a solution for that. Secondly, security. I don't think when the police is to invite the army to beef them up, to give them more support, they will have to go public and say, now the army, please, we are inviting you, come. It may not require a press conference, it may not be on the media, but the security operatives, they have a way of working hand in hand as sister security organs, so they know how they operate. Me, I'm purely civilian. I cannot.
Doesn't the law require that a formal invitation is made by the police to the army?
When do we need what?
That's what.
What I need is to have the environment secure for everybody. That's our wish as the party, because we have been in some areas, and I must say it on record, where we have suspected security people not to be balanced, even to ourselves, even to the others. So we need to see something very balanced. Now, what can we do to have fair by-elections? One, for Omoro, for Kayunga, for Arua, what happened in Arua, for instance, the real people that started throwing stones, for instance, towards the president's cars, causing chaos, were tourists, were guests from Kampala that traveled to Arua just to cause chaos. Can we have these numbers controlled, whether they are for NRM, whether they are for FDC, whether they are for NUP?
It seems like
allow the people of
an interesting start for the NRM, because from the videos we are seeing, there's so many visitors that you've taken to Omoro.
Better. Number two, what we can do is to talk to our candidates so that they avoid abusive language in all camps. Let them be focused on issues. You see, when a candidate says something bad, when he insults somebody, then automatically the public picks it up from there, blows it up, and the others. Number three, we should avoid provoking security. You see, when these young men and women, the police people are moving, don't provoke them. Some of them, maybe they have trekked a kilometer or two without a bottle of water. You provoke them, that's not good. We should stop that. We should also have respect and mutual respect among ourselves. Of course, I can hear how Honorable Nkunyinji, since I started the program, I'm referring to him as Honorable Nkunyinji. Of course, I know how people are elected. Others carry firewood on their heads and they win sympathy and they get into parliament. But I will call him honorable up to the end. He can say, I dream, I do what, I don't care, because we are brought up differently. I'm a gentleman, I may not be in parliament, but I could be maybe at a certain other level. So
very honorable in your right.
We need to have mutual respect. You know these issues, even when you come to TV, the moderator is trying to control you, you have to shout, you have to do what? Defiance everywhere. You know, this is the quality of leaders that are looking at getting into the leadership, the top leadership of the government, the country. People just sit from here and they say, they need to be, maybe to rehearse more. Let them wait for some time. But now that mutual respect is very important. Balanced coverage by the media, and factual coverage. Because once you give a story that's not balanced, it can also cause a problem. But also the Electoral Commission must be ready to respect to incidents, to issues instantly, especially as we close in towards elections. On the elections day, maybe a day before the results are declared. If there are issues, if somebody says there's a problem here, they must be there on time. When we do this, and many others, of course, that I have not mentioned here, I think we can walk out of Omoro without injuries. Personally, I wouldn't like to see anybody bleeding because of an election. Why should you? We need to respect each other. We need to have that pain for each other. That if Rogers is bleeding, then Nkunyinji must also feel bad. Say why? If Honorable Nkunyinji has a problem, I must also feel pitiful and say, no, this is bad. So we must condemn acts of hooliganism, because this, the genesis of these acts of hooliganism is with the leaders. It starts with the leaders. That kind of talk, inciting people, you know, it's really just like you have seen the Honorable Nkunyinji is doing here. So we need really to be a little bit more focused on issues. And as NRM, we have spoken to our candidate. Immediately after nomination tomorrow, we are going to have more briefing with him. We shall have more discussion. He's a young man. The Secretary General will be there. And as I mentioned, the two directors will take him through. Because we are preparing a leader, a young leader, who is going into Parliament. So we shall guide him to make sure his language is to the task, so that we maintain our respect as a ruling party. But of course, Honorable Nkunyinji talked about the services in Omoro. Omoro, yes, Omoro is one of those districts that were carved out of Gulu. It's not as old as the Gulu, the Kitugumos, the Lamo, and the others. They still have a lot of things to be done, and it's our responsibility as a government to do that. That's true, but you need somebody. Because a member of parliament, if he's really that focused, their MPs I have seen, they will be on the neck of the Prime Minister. If there is a disaster in their area, there's a challenge in their homes, rather in their constituencies, he will always be there to tell the minister, the Prime Minister, or the minister concerned, please, we need this. So you need that kind of a member of parliament that will always give a reminder to the government that this is what we want for our people. And for people of Omoro, I think the right candidate, the young blood, a focused leader, somebody who understands your issues, a clean young man who is not tagged to any other, you know. Some of these people have had their fights before. I think the solution for Moro will be Andrew Jok Olanya.
All right. I think it's important to mention that it's not only the NRM and the National Unity Platform that are intending to participate in this election. Of course, it will be clearer after the nominations happen tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. But we know that, you know, even the FDC is planning to have a candidate. There are a number of independents that plan to stand in that by-election. We know that, you know, the DP candidate, you know, did pull out of the race, gave reasons there. Of course, there are people who are coming up with alternative reasons as to why the DP did pull out. But yes, many parties are participating in that election. Just need to put that clearly. And we actually did invite, representation from the FDC, but unfortunately they were not able to join us for the show. And but we have able representation here from, participants in that election. Well, because of time, I'd like us to go to something that has also become common in our elections, which is acceptance of the result. We have even reached a level where the Prime Minister goes on record saying the opposition rigs elections. The opposition stuffs ballots and things like that, which, yes, if taken on face value, you can miss the fact that, this is calling the process into question. Charity, I'd like to begin with you on that. Rigging and, it even reaching a level where the ruling party says that the opposition is colluding with security forces and the Electoral Commission to rig them out.
I think that's a very interesting perspective, but as election observers, we have been pointing out to the Electoral Commission that until the day the reflection of the results at the polling station look like the same results that are being read, trusting results will never happen in Uganda. Because what happens is, what is picked in raw form from the polling station many times does not tally with what the district tally center is saying. But where does the district tally center pick results if they cannot be reflective of the polling stations? Because when you move around sampled polling stations and you hear the returning officer announcing, NOP has this number, FDC has this number, NRM has this number, and you write down those figures, then you go to the district tally center and the numbers being read are totally different for that polling station. Or they tell you, now instead of reading polling station by polling station, we have amalgamated. We are now reading for the whole parish. We are not reading, because there are 37 parishes now in Omoro, they can decide to say, now we are announcing these results as a bulk from the parish. Now that becomes confusing for the voter, because remember, the voter cast only one vote, and that vote was
they cast it at a particular polling station,
and that polling station had a particular number of people. So the voter is interested in knowing how many people showed up for that poll, how many people didn't show up, how many people fell sick, and then how did the result turn out, and how is it being reflected,
and whether what they had at the polling station tallies with what is being.
And that has not happened. It didn't happen in Kayunga, it didn't happen in Arua. I don't know if it is going to happen in Omoro. Now, Electoral Commission, that is their mandate. Until they resolve that issue of the polling station reflecting the exact result at the district tally center, nobody will ever believe the results that come out of Uganda. And it's not a problem that started today. It started in 1980. President Museveni did not believe what came out of the elections, and so he went to the bush and fought for 5 years. So it's a systemic problem of the country. We have lived with it, and we need to find a way of transmitting results better. We need a way of building those confidence levels in the results. Results transmission is a critical thing in ensuring a free, fair process. But I also want to demystify that statement of the opposition can possibly turn around the result. Now, the army is not ruled by anyone in the opposition. The police does not have anyone in the opposition. The Electoral Commission has people who are balanced. Supposedly, at least that is what is on the creed in terms of the document. We are supposed to have people who are balanced. But if it is possible that they could work for anyone, they would most likely work for the government than work for the opposition. So if you claim that the opposition has ballots stuffed, what are you saying? You're saying, therefore, that the whole process is dead. Even you who has gone through the process should ask yourself whether you are actually the credible candidate who should have qualified for that election.
We have to, I have to, end you there because of time. And I'd actually like to go to Rogers Mulindwa first on this before I come to the Honorable Kunyinji. Claims, and I'm sure you will remember the Prime Minister saying the opposition rigged, the opposition do ballot stuffing. And this happened to be at a place where they ended up saying the NRM had won. How do you come to, those conclusions that the opposition has the ability to rig, and you've been in power, you should make sure that these processes are free and fair?
Of course, you see, never underestimate the capacity of the opposition to rig elections. You don't. I saw it in Jinja when we had a by-election that involved Honorable Mwiru and Honorable Naveta. We had that by-election, I think 2017. And around 9 a.m., from nowhere, we were told they are pre-ticked ballot papers, and the ballot papers were in favor of Honorable Igeme Naveta. Then we asked whoever brought them, we said, where did you find them? He said he found them in the car. Then we said, which car? And where is that car? He could not explain where exactly the incident had happened, but they were insisting they are pre-ticked and in favor of our NRM candidate. Little did we know that at the back of this story, these people perhaps were planning something different, but this was diversionary. That all our attention focused on this, and then they kept doing other things. So these things happen.
So they were pre-ticked ballots, and
I can only say
they got these ballots and ticked them for the NRM.
I don't believe in rigging, and the NRM does not rig elections. But of course, there is that culture where people don't accept results. Like the last elections, Honorable Nkunyinji, if he won in Chadondo East, automatically our presidential candidate lost in Chadondo East. When we went to Bukuya, for instance, where Dr. Bukenya won with about 83%, I think the highest score for NRM in Uganda, then the president also had almost the same percentage. So when you look at these results, where the presidential candidate scores better or where he wins, even the MP of that party wins. But that excuse, we have always lost in Kampala, the rest of the mayor, and we have considered defeat. Honorable Kunyinji could even remember that when we had that by-election that involved the Honorable Chagulanyi in Chadondo East, after the elections, the Secretary General of the party, by that time, Right Honorable Justin Kasule Lumumba, sent a congratulatory message to Honorable Chagulanyi, and it was all over in the media. That's NRM as a party. That's what we believe in. If we have lost, we have lost, and we go back on the drawing table and then say, why are we losing here? Because there are things, of course, look at Kampala, for instance. You go to Rubaga, you look at the council dominated by the opposition. We only have 8 NRM. But we have the speaker democratically elected as a speaker of that council. But these things even happened in 2018 when we were electing the first speakers of the divisions of Kampala. We won in all divisions except Makindi. But even in Makindi, we took the deputy speakership position. But we didn't have the majority of those. What happens exactly? There are always people who would perhaps tell the opposition that they belong to them when they don't. No. Somebody would paint a picture that you see when you look at Kawempe division, for instance. The speaker is NRM, but the council is dominated by NUP. How does it happen? And nobody says we rigged the elections. And we never rigged the elections. The thing was, the real people of NUP voted for us. And this is one secret I don't want to mention here, but I can mention it because even Honorable Kunyinji could be knowing it. Not everybody who sings opposition, not everybody who shouts NUP is really NUP. There are quite a number of them that are working for us.
Could it also be true that not everybody that sings NRM is
there are quite a number of them that vote for NRM.
Oh my God.
Mr. Mulindwa, can it also be true that not everybody who sings NRM is for NRM and could be actually opposition? Because it's second ballot.
Maybe that one can also happen. There could be a few that could
in
be
this case,
saying
there are
yes,
few.
they are NRM.
In their case, they could be the majority.
When they are not voting NRM.
Okay.
Of course, I know one of our biggest challenge of NRM is the internal bickering. The opposition of Uganda would not be an issue if the NRM camp would really be together and we avoid these minor issues. The internal bickering would not be a problem.
Okay.
Opposition in Uganda, I want to say it.
We are running out of time.
The opposition in Uganda is not a challenge to NRM.
All right.
Our biggest challenge as NRM is within ourselves. So we need to put ourselves right.
Mr. Mulindwa, we're running out of time.
So let's get bickering. Why is this one? Why this one? Those are the issues that are perhaps affecting us.
All right. Let's get Honorable Nkunyinyi's quick comment in relation to allegations of rigging.
No. First of all, you have accorded more time for Mulindwa, and I can't.
No.
Because you have brought in.
So you know he's going to say that I've actually given you more time.
However, earlier he had insinuated about slogans. I want to say that NRM or the spokesperson have no moral authority to lecture us on which slogan to use, and they cannot even lecture us on how to engage in a free and fair electoral process. Because by our natural existence as the National Unity Platform, as people power, we are amplifying the rights of Ugandans, and in this particular aspect, the electoral rights of Ugandans to decide on key issues, including choosing and electing leaders of their choice via a free and fair process. The National Unity Platform and People Power have remained very peaceful and continue to remain peaceful. We even go into the moral electoral process with comfort and hope that the electoral process will be free and fair. That's why we process the candidate via our electoral process. We are going to nominate for the nomination of our candidate, and we shall engage in the campaign. No one can lecture us on how a peaceful campaign is run. So we are going to run a campaign the way we understand it in accordance with the laws of this country and the regulations governing electoral process. When Mulindwa narrates that they want to regulate this, regulate who goes where, how many people, we want to be on record. He has no power. In this country, we have free entry and exit of any area. I don't need a visa to any part of this country. And no one is disallowed from engaging or supporting or standing with a candidate. The mere existence of our electoral dispensation, that has a multi-party dispensation. We, as a party, when we have a candidate in any region, we have a right to use our mobilizers within that particular region. We also have a right to engage in the same process as leaders and leaders at various levels. And I want to be on record that even our party president, His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Robert, will be no more to stand with the people of Omoro as we canvass votes for our candidate Simon Torit, and the narrative by Mulindwa and the NRM that they want to control this and control this. I want to tell them on record and on a national TV that you don't have the power to regulate that. The electoral process is already determined and described within the law how it is run. Don't come up with the new narratives. All what we are calling is security forces, police, the military, among others. Please excuse us. This is a civilian electoral process, which must be a mandate of the Electoral Commission. Leave the Electoral Commission as independent as it must be. Though in the past and in most previous elections, it has only carried the name Independent Electoral Commission. It has not exercised the independence. This is all what we are looking for. When it comes to outcomes of an electoral process, issues of rigging, staffing, it has been a reserve of the NRM. Of course, they have no support. They have no support in any region of this country. That's why for us, we even still insist that we won even the last general election, because in an election,
you asked for evidence earlier.
In an election, where results are gathered from particular polling stations, we gathered declaration of results forms from across the country. Of course, we tried the court process, and you know how it all ended until we had to pull out of that.
You promise you're going to publish this for everyone to see.
And up to now, when someone alleged that it is them who won or in a particular location, I find it wishful thinking. But to our knowledge, the facts are we actually won. There's a difference between.
Why don't you present the evidence to set the record right?
And I want you to appreciate the difference between winning in accordance with the laws and the declaration as announced by the Electoral Commission. This is why we have a problem. Actually, in terms of winning, the people of Uganda, nobody will mobilize them, and they vote. In terms of declaration, we have been having a challenge with the Electoral Commission. Many times they announce results on gunpoint. So when you brought in the example of Kayunga, the results were announced on gunpoint. Of course, we followed the Tade Center was a mess. In terms of the campaign, yes, we had issues, we had challenges. Most of our agents were arrested, including members of parliament. Up now, some of them are facing trumped-up charges. Just they wanted them to be away from the electoral process. So you know the fracas as it was in Kayunga. But in terms of the electoral results, we gathered and collected all the data forms. We actually won. It is a challenge of what was announced. Now we go to Omoro well prepared. We know the tactics of the regime. And the narratives they continue making. So, but as well, alive to the fact that the people of Omoro require justice. The people of Omoro require a fair electoral process. The people of Omoro require to be supported, to exercise their individual rights.
We're out of time.
We know
we need to give our parting shot. So if you could link that in with your parting shot.
Necessary support on the ground. I don't know when I come in, you say it is time.
No, we actually. But
I had to build the narrative because I have to respond to a number of allegations and hearsay as aired by Murindo and that is wishful thinking. Otherwise, the reality on the ground, it is NRM which has been culpable to rig voter bribery, rigging, vote staffing. But we are going to be on our guards in Omoro because the people of Omoro they have suffered enough. When he says it is a new district, who told you is Uganda new? As Omoro just become a region of this country? That would be logical. Because when you say that we have not provided services in Omoro because it is new, it has just been carved out of Uguru among others. Now, is Omoro new? When it was part of Uguru, what offense did they do not to be supported? When they voted the NRM candidate Oranya, why didn't you construct the roads? Why didn't you construct the water? Don't deceive the public and the populace. The good thing, the people of Omoro are very alert and wise. And the voices we are hearing on the ground, they're all saying people power, they're all saying NUP, they're all saying Torit. Omoro is going to lead. So we are prepared for the task, and we want to caution whoever is a threat to democracy, whoever is a threat to electoral process. We shall be there to stand with the people of Omoro. This is our country.
You are prepared for you're prepared for the task. Mr. Mulindwa, very briefly, your final word.
Yes, of course I would say.
We just have a few seconds, so if you could keep it brief.
Yes, there is nothing much to believe from Honorable Nkunyinji. Just like they had their story of the sheep, a Mary jar, the miraculous car, which had a boat like a playground. The same stories he has been telling us here.
All right. Charity, your parting shot.
My parting shots are, I heard Rogers Mulindwa saying many members of NUP are actually supporters of the NRM, and I think it is a sad day for multi-party democracy in Uganda. And if that is exactly what is happening in political parties, then it is unfortunate for the voter, because the voter believes the people who are in the vehicles that are, but the people that are there, you've heard for yourself, are actually not espousing the beliefs that they are putting across to their supporters.
All right, because of time, we have to end here. I'd just like to mention that an election is not a do or die. Therefore, at the end of this, as a country, we should be moving forward. Let's not kill each other because of an election.
Our symbol is the umbrella.
From me and our three guests, Honorable Nkunyinji.
Our symbol is the umbrella, people of Omoro.
Charity Ahimbisibwe here joining us via live link. Rogers Mulindwa would like to thank you for being our guest. Would like to thank you for watching The Big Debate. We return next week with another edition. Till then, good night. God bless you. Don't blink.